Pryde's Picks is spoiler heavy and full of crude language. I swear like a sailor, and Lockheed's no better. Consider yourself warned. Hey everyone, it's April 3rd, and I'm here with this week's Pryde's Picks. Now, I have so many comics this week, I just plan on barreling through them. I got about 3 from DC, 4 from Marvel, and a couple from some no-name companies in case you want to branch out into something different. Let's get started with Action Comics, number 19. Now, majority of DC's books are all number 19 this week because they're all coming out at the same time, and they all started fresh from the DC reboot of the New 52. And Superman's Action Comics is no different. This book has Superman and Lois in the Mideast somewhere, and they're out like hunting down this big story, and then Clark Kent gets distracted, does some Superman-y stuff. Turns out Lex Luthor sent a bunch of giant robots to fuck with him, and then he beat the robots, which Lex assumed he would, but they injected him with some sort of like Tony Stark sort of nanobites full of kryptonite. So now, the whole thing ends. You gotta check this thing out, if nothing else, buy it for this image. Because it is like some sort of pornographic, fisting, Superman tentacle rape thing going on, where he's laying there and it's like, oh, and his crotch is right there. It was amazing, and I'm pretty sure next episode he gets tentacle raped by Brainiac. Spoiler alert. So, pick it up. It's something different. I haven't seen Lex Luthor use nanobites in Clark Kent's DNA. He's reconstructing his DNA while he's like using his DNA. So check it out. It was kind of cool, and I can't wait to see what happens, which you'll never hear from me in a Superman book. We will jump right into Animal Man. And at the reboot, I was big into Animal Man. I really enjoyed it, and then I kind of got bored with it and kind of distracted myself for a while and forgot about Animal Man. This week, issue 19 is here, and his son has died. So now it's the wife and it's the daughter who's the Avatar, and it's Animal Man. And Animal Man does his kid's funeral, and he's all bummed out. And then his wife's like, fuck you, I'm out of here. So he goes to the Red. He goes deep into the Red, and he's like, I don't want to be your person anymore. I don't want my daughter to be your Avatar. They're like, fuck you, and they kick him out. And they're like, you're not welcome back here anymore. And he's like cut off from the Red. They're like, and we will take your daughter by force. Not as fun as it sounded. And so it was very dramatic and very sad and very disturbing. But I might start reading Animal Man again because it got really dark. And his kid died. What? So pick it up if you want to see something new with DC. Animal Man, I don't know. I kind of like that he's not happy and they're kind of using him as their meat puppet. Forwarding it to Swamp Thing, number 19. I don't give a shit about Swamp Thing, ever. But somebody told me that Swamp Thing might have something new coming out, and it happened, and I was kind of excited. Swamp Thing is in the city you'd least likely see him, Metropolis. And he runs into Scarecrow, and he tries fucking up Scarecrow, and Scarecrow kind of fucks him up, and then Superman's like, this shit ain't right. I think Superman's gonna come after Swamp Thing, and that's kind of cool. And Swamp Thing is kind of losing touch with humanity and kind of more in touch with the green, and he's choosing plants over people, so he might be considered a villain to Superman. We will find out. I will be reading issue 20 because I like the idea of him being in the middle of the city. It's kind of cool. Kick past all that DC. Let's move to Marvel because there is so much out of Marvel this week that I had to talk about. First of all, Thanos Rising, number 1. I had no idea what this was about. I opened this book not knowing what to expect. And it's like Thanos' backstory of when he was a kid and how he became who he is today and how his mom wanted to kill him when he was born because she's like, this kid is not normal. Tries to stab him. He's like, I have dreams you're trying to stab me. I still love you, Mommy. It's fucked up. And Thanos, you kind of start out liking him, kind of like the way Apocalypse is now and like the Wolverine and the X-Men. You kind of like him because he's kind of innocent. But then some fucked up shit happens and he's not so innocent. Pick up Thanos Rising number 1 because you know we're going to see more with Thanos with the Avengers movie coming out. And it was really interesting. I say buy it now. Well, what? We will jump into All New X-Men number 10. Now, the last issue had the Uncanny Avengers, a.k.a. Scott and Emma Frost and Magneto and all them on the doorstep of Jean Grey's Academy for Gifted Mutants. And I was wondering what was going to happen. Scott Summers basically says, you all are welcome to join my school. And then he calls it Xavier School. And everybody flips their shit. How dare you, sir? You killed the man. You can't call it Xavier School. I was tickled that everybody called him the fuck out. And then Scott's like, you really think I had control of myself? So he's like, I'll be back to see who wants to come with me. So a handful of the students leave. Nobody's really surprised by it. But at the end, you hear a voice go, I'm going to go with them. And everyone turns around and they're like, oh, not you. So they leave it up to like mystery. Who's it going to be? And next issue we'll find out. I think it's going to be young Jean Grey from the past. I really do. I think she's still trying to find herself, and maybe she's trying to get closer to the Uncanny Avengers, but I think that's who it's going to be. So I guess we'll have to wait till issue 10 to see if I was right, but we all know I'm right. Superman's going to get fisted later by Brainiac. So pick it up, read it. It's not a buy it now, but it did have some really badass moments in it that you should see. Age of Ultron, book 4. I like that they don't even call them issues. They're like, this is a book. Like, this is a big fucking deal. Age of Ultron, last we saw Luke Cage and She-Hulk were going to go down into, like, the Ultron lair and try to, like, pawn each other off to see what's going on, and Vision ends up being there. Well, they talked to Vision for a minute, but he's not really Vision. He's completely controlled by Brainiac, and Brainiac is nowhere. I don't think he's even in this dimension or this time zone right now. He's, like, in California or some shit. But, no, he's in another, like, timeline or something, and he's controlling everybody like little puppets. And I think I saw She-Hulk get killed point blank, but I could be wrong, because you never know with the art style what's exactly going on. But shit got real fast. There was a lot of action, but not a lot happened, if that makes sense. And then the Avengers end up in what's left of the Avengers end up in the Savage Land. Moving on to Superior Spider-Man number 7. Now, we've been following this book together from the beginning, and this issue had kind of the reader on the edge of their seat, because Doc Ock Spidey comes up against this villain called Cardiac, but he's a villain that's not a villain. Like, he steals shit and he robs places, but deep down he has, like, good intentions. He's helping sick people with the stuff he steals. Well, Doc Ock comes across him in a warehouse stealing stuff, and Ock is like, I'm gonna stop you. And all of us, including Ghost Peter Parker, are on the edge of our seats thinking he's going to kill this guy because he has fucked up the last handful of villains he's come up against. He killed one point blank, and the other two are like fucking in the hospital dying from, I don't know, lung damage. I don't even know what he did to them, and breathing their own blood. So Peter's like upset. He's worried that he's going to hurt this guy. And when Octavius realizes what he's stealing is confiscated Doc Ock stuff, Octavius gets pissed. He's like, how dare you steal stuff that was confiscated that is originally mine? How dare you steal some of my genius technology? So he goes like apeshit. And we're all thinking this is the end of the world. But Superior Spidey is somehow being hindered a bit by Peter Parker's man ghost. I don't know, he's kind of hearing him now, and he's kind of controlling his hand. So we're not quite sure what's going to happen there. But he's just on the verge of fucking up Cardiac. When the Avengers show up, and the Avengers are like, well, no, they don't show up, sorry. The Avengers send him a message after all that shit goes down with Cardiac, and they're like, we need to talk. And so he shows up, and they're like, we're here for an intervention. And you're like, oh, fuck. And they were like, we don't think you're Peter Parker. You're going to have to prove yourself by answering all these questions and doing this physical exam. He's going to know everything. That's the thing, though. He's smart, and he has all Peter's memories, so it's going to be really hard to, like, trick them, you know? I mean, to not trick them, because he's going to be able to answer all the questions, right? His physiology is Peter Parker, so I'm not quite sure where that's going to go. But the gayest part about this book is when Thor is like, I don't believe you're Peter Parker. And Ghost Spidey says, ready? He says, yeah, that's right, Thor. Testify. Are you fucking kidding me? Testify? What is this, a Southern Baptist fucking church? And he's like, oh, Thor, you got me, you got my back, you got my... It was gay as fuck. That was like second to last page. Made me laugh out loud at how fucking ridiculous it was. Other than that, this book was alright. It's not as good as the last few because Peter Parker is kind of gaining control of his body, and we all saw it coming, so it's very anticlimactic. I'm like, yeah, I know. Peter's gonna get his body back. Everyone knows it. So pick it up, read it on the shelf. You definitely don't have to buy it right now, and that Thor Testify bullshit makes me wonder if, I don't know, Sister Act 3 is writing this script for this. It was retarded. We are going to wrap this up with a couple of no-name publishers, with a couple of no-name books. All right, Dynamite Comics is a little bit of a name, but this book is called Miss Fury. And we picked it up because I have this rule that says, boobies on the cover, pick it up. This is Marla Drake, and she is, if you would mix Catwoman with Batman and a little bit of Captain America, you get this bitch right here. She somehow jumps from like 1943 into the real world and nowadays, and you don't know what the fuck's going on with her, and she's all confused about stuff. There's a guy that's kind of like a watcher from Fringe, kind of moving her about, manipulating stuff. What's that about? But she's like this rich millionairess, and she steals shit for fun, and she just wants to feel alive. She got her superpowers by getting high in, like, fucking Africa with some dudes. I don't know, she drank some potion. It was awful. I don't know what they're thinking here, making this comic, because I feel like they just stole from everybody I've ever read, every DC I've ever read, and some Marvel, too. So it didn't feel very original at all, and it didn't tickle my pickle. The art was very beautiful. It was kind of very noir, but I don't, piss on it. I'm going to say it. Sorry, Dynamite. Is Dynamite piss on it? There you go. We will wrap this up with a book that Nakia from the Just a Couple of G's podcast said I had to read. Because, and I quote, it was an anime made by a black guy. That was it. That was why I had to pick this up. It's called Steam Wars by Fred Perry. The art in this is good. It's very anime. It's a lot of fun. But the whole time I'm reading it, it's obviously a Star Wars parody. But it's like so close to Star Wars that where does it become original and where is it just like following the exact thing of Star Wars? But the steam comes in because it's kind of steampunky at the same time. So if you're a super hipster and you like steampunk, and if you're a super hipster and you like Star Wars parodies, this is the book for you. And if you are a black guy that wants to see some anime made by a black guy, this is for you, Nakia. But the rest of us probably won't enjoy it. The art is really beautiful. Pick it up and check out the art on it. But other than that, I could barely choke it down. It was not for me. It seemed too kitschy and too hipstery, and I don't give a shit about steampunk. So, Steam Wars, issue 1. Pick it up if you like that kind of thing. For me, not so much. That was our books this week. I had a lot that I loved, which is good because last week I felt like I didn't like anything. But there are a few things I disliked. And Thor Testify. What the fuck was that? That was like the worst part of this week. That's all I can walk away from this week with. And fucking Thanos. Thanos Rising was definitely a must-buy. I enjoyed the crap out of it. And I don't care if I was alone in it. I don't know if I was. Why don't you leave some messages below and let me know. But this weekend we have a huge sale at Tate's Comics. If you're anywhere near South Florida, near Lauderhill, Florida, it's the 20th anniversary of my favorite comic store, pop culture mecca of South Florida, and I will be there checking it all out with you. Huge sale stuff and just all around a big geek hangout. If you're around, please swing by and say hey, and if you're not, post in the comments below how jealous you are, and I will leave pictures. Good night, everybody. Mwah.